Good morning, everyone. The time is 9 o'clock. I call to order the June 3rd, 2021 meeting of the Contractor State Licensing Board. My name is David L. Torre, CSLB's board chair. Board members, we will be using cameras during the meeting. To mitigate any potential bandwidth issues, we ask that you turn off your video camera when you are not speaking. When you would like to comment during the meeting, please turn on your camera or select the raise your hand icon in the WebEx application. I will call on board members to speak. When called upon, please unmute yourself, and when finished, return to mute and turn off your camera. Shelley Jones is our host and moderator today. Also joining us is Registrar David Fote, Chief Deputy Registrar Tanya Corcoran, CSLB staff, and our board legal counsel, Jason Hurtado. Police. Please note for board records that Nancy Springer has an approved absence. Please confirm board member attendance and roll call.
David Del Torre.
Here.
Kevin Albanese.
Here.
Frank Altamira.
Here.
Augie Beltran.
Here.
Ronnie Cobos.
Here.
Miguel Galarza.
Here.
Don Giarratano.
Here.
Susan Granzilla.
Here.
Diana Love.
Here. Did you
Michael
hear
Mark?
me?
Yes.
Okay.
Michael Mark.
Here.
Jimmy Wayne.
Here.
Johnny Simpson.
Here.
Nancy has an excused absence, and Mary Tykert. Is Mary here?
Mary is currently not on the meeting.
Okay. We have a quorum.
Thank you, please. At this time, I ask that you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving on to agenda item B, which is for public comment and to request agenda items for future meetings. The board values public input as part of our consumer protection mission. To allow us enough time to conduct our full schedule of business today, I'm limiting public comments to 3 minutes apiece. If your comments don't involve an item on today's agenda, this would be the time where you can make them. If you have comments on one of our agenda items, we encourage you to wait until we get to that item. We will give you an opportunity to make your comments at that time. We also ask that your public comment relate to the agenda item currently before the board. There are a few other rules that apply. First, California law prohibits board members from discussing any matter brought up during public comment, and board members are not allowed to act on any item not on today's agenda. Second, if you want the board to discuss a topic not on the agenda, you can ask us to consider placing that issue on the agenda of a future meeting. And finally, if you have an application, complaint, or disciplinary charges pending before the board, we ask that you not discuss the details of your case or pending complaint. That's because board members may be the judges and by law are not permitted to receive evidence or information that is not part of the administrative record in the case. Members of the public, if you are with us on WebEx and would like to make a comment, use the chat feature to send the host a note that you would like to offer public comment. If you are joining us on the phone and would like to make a public comment, press *9. We will take any WebEx comments first, followed by telephone comments. We will use this time the same system throughout the meeting for public comment during each agenda item. You will find instructions on how you can make public comments on the agenda for this meeting posted on the CSLB website. Board members, please turn on your camera and raise your hand if you have an agenda item you would like placed on future meeting agenda. Okay, seeing none. Shelley, please check to see if there are any members of the public who wish to address the board or offer a possible agenda item for future meeting.
Thank you. I see Davy Rodriguez would like to make a comment. Davy, your line is unmuted. You will have 3 minutes. And if I may, before you begin, just remind you to please lower your hand.
Lower my hand.
Yes.
How do you do that?
Well, you raised it. There should be a small
I didn't.
icon of a hand at the bottom of the
I
participant list.
when I press on it. Okay.
There you go.
All right,
Now
good.
it's down.
Okay, my name is Davy Rodriguez, and I've been before the board some time back. I would like to address something today that I made a complaint on the public, a public complaint about unlicensed contractors. And usually I get good service from the board on things like this, but because this time it's a government entity that is hiring unlicensed contractors, I'm not getting anywhere. In fact, they're now the board stopped calling me back. And it kind of makes me angry that they would treat us this way. I mean, these contracts are in tens of thousands and even hundreds of thousands of dollars. The city of Sacramento is doling them out to people who are not licensed, and they are required. I think I've pretty much verified that. At this point, though, after the complaint was issued, the board has not returned my calls from that point, and I don't see anything happening on this. I would like to know, I'd like the board to look into this and find out if there's just some sort of favoritism, because it is, like I say, a government entity, and I think that they should not get away with this. Not the government is the one that gets cited, but the contractors themselves are probably politically connected. I don't know. It's the only thing I can guess at this point. But I will not let this just go away. Didn't let it last time, and I did have to work at it, but I got satisfaction. Go that route again. It should not be allowed to stand, because the board does prosecute people of lesser standing all the time for doing the same thing for a lot lesser sums of money. And this, it just reeks of corruption. That is all I have to say on this matter for the moment.
Well, Speaker, thank you for your comments. The board cannot discuss the details of an application or pending licensing or enforcement matter. You may provide your contact information to the moderator, and CSLB staff will reach out to discuss your specific application, complaint, enforcement matter. Again, thank you for your comments.
And not seeing any further requests at this time.
Okay, great. Next is agenda item C, presentation of certificates of recognition. Today we are recognizing two board members, Nancy Springer and Kevin Albany. Let me start by thanking Nancy for her service. In 2013, Nancy was appointed to local building contractor position of the board. Prior to Nancy serving on the board, she was a friend to the board. In fact, when Nancy served at the Butte County building official, she provided office space for one CSLB SWIFT investigator so that they could work directly with building department staff and with the community. As a CSLB board member, she continued to be a conduit between building officials and CLB staff. Nancy reported on CSLB activities at numerous building officials' meetings and served as a resource to staff on code compliance and permit issues. She advocated for and starred in the CSLB developed building permit compliance course, which we use today as an educational tool for contractors. I will now read the plaque from the board. To Nancy Springer, CSLB Board Member 2013 to 2021. CSLB Enforcement Committee Chair, 2018 to 2019. In recognition of your outstanding contributions to the Contractor State Licensing Board, California consumers, and to the construction industry, thank you for a job well done. Next, I would like to thank and recognize Kevin Albanese for his service on the board. Kevin was appointed in 2013 to the position of General Building Contractor. Throughout his tenure, Kevin has not shied away from addressing tough issues. Kevin was a strong resource on the balcony bill that resulted from the tragic Berkeley balcony collapse. Kevin's input ensured that it provided enhanced consumer protection without putting unnecessary burdens on the industry. Also, while serving on the Workers' Compensation Advisory Committee, Kevin was instrumental in obtaining industry support and finding a balanced approach in crafting a legislative proposal to achieve great workers' compensation compliance. Today, legislation is pending to mandate workers' compensation. Lastly, I'd like to thank Kevin for stepping in at our last sunset review hearing. Kevin testified before the legislature on CSLB's behalf, providing key testimony. Needless to say, the hearing went very well. I will now read the plaque from the board. To Kevin Albanese, CSLB Board Member 2013 to 2021. CSLB Board Chair 2017 to 2018. In recognition of your outstanding contributions to the Contractor State Licensing Board, California consumers, and to the construction industry, thank you for a job well done. At this time, I'll ask any board members if they'd like to comment.
David, this is Augie.
The board recognizes Augie Beltran.
I want to thank both Nancy and Kevin for their time on the board and the service that they've given. Both of them have been great resources to us, and their wisdom is valued in every aspect and every decision that we've made. And thank you both very much. You will be missed.
Well said. Is there any other board comment?
This
Yes.
is Mary Tykert.
Go ahead, Mary.
The board recognizes Mary.
Okay, thank you.
Mary?
There we go. Yes. I'd like to echo Augie's commentary on the value of both of these board members, and particularly highlight what a great representative and liaison to the contracting community Kevin's been through his entire time on the board. So in addition to good service on the CSLB, he's also been a great industry association representative and helped highlight the role and the resource that CSLB can be for contractors within the contracting community. So they'll both be missed.
Susan, you wanted to comment?
Yes, this is Susan Granzella. I wanted to comment and say thank you to both of them. With Nancy, having been new on the, when I was new on the board and I did not have a contracting background, Nancy was always available to answer questions and kind of fill me in on what was going on the board. Kevin too, I served on a couple of committees with Kevin. I think what I learned that it's okay to move things along quickly on the board when you see that there might be, you know, it was his style that really helped in many of our discussions where we came to a conclusion and a good one in a faster pace, you know. So, but he was always very helpful, and we thought alike on many of the committee, you know, to change, to look for a new registrar and those kinds of things. So it was extremely helpful to be working with Kevin to see how things worked on the board. Thank you to both of them, and they will be missed.
Are there any other board comments? Miguel.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, no, unfortunately, I did not get a chance to meet Nancy given our COVID situation. But I appreciate all her hard work. I do want to share the fact that Kevin was gracious enough to meet with me as I became a board member and introduced himself to me, and you know, gave me some good advice and gave me the opportunity to feel comfortable serving on the board. So for that, I'm truly grateful for those that have reached out and spoken to me. Thank you.
Any other board comment? Registrar, I see you visually. Would you like to comment?
I would. Good morning, and thank you, Chair Delatorre. I too would like to thank both Nancy and Kevin. Nancy was instrumental in opening the doors for better working relationships with building officials throughout the state. We had the opportunity to work together at many conferences. You know, she was very valuable to the board. You know, specifically though for Kevin, just want to acknowledge Kevin's support for board operations. He provided us numerous leads relating to unlicensed practice and egregious conduct that really helped to protect consumers. He was always willing to help with public outreach. And for us, most importantly, for me and for our senior staff here, he's always willing to take a phone call when you have a difficult situation. You call Kevin up. If you need him to come to a senior staff meeting, Kevin would hop on the train and he would attend that senior staff meeting. And just in closing, he did a lot over the last 8 years to help staff review licensing operations. And because of his efforts, we are more business friendly and we have enhanced consumer protection with our licensing division today. So thank you very much, Kevin, for all that you did.
Okay, any other board comment? Seeing none, I see a visual of Kevin. I guess he would like to make some comments.
Now, I would just, I wish Nancy was here. She has been a fantastic addition to the board over the last 8 years, and her advocacy with the building officials up and down the state, and her credibility, her knowledge, and bringing that to the board has been instrumental. And it just shows the importance of having that building official person. I hope whoever fills her shoes is equally engaged and in touch with the rest of the building official community. I'm overwhelmed, and I have truly enjoyed the last 8 years on the board. These have been some of the most transformational years of my life. And as much as I started in 13, my father passed in 14, and I took over the business and then got out of the business in 2020. But the one of the constants was being a part of this board. The board members that came before, Joan Hancock, Bob Lamb, Ed Lang, David Diaz, Paul Schaffino, were all fantastic mentors. The current board, you guys are in just fantastic hands. I would talk about all of you, but we only have a few minutes here. To the staff, I want to make a shout out to Jesse Flores, Missy Vickery, and Becky Like, who can't be with us today. Their support, I know some of them are gone now, but their support through the years, the enforcement committee has just been fantastic. Tanya Corcoran, I don't know what I could say about you, but you hit all the pitches and you do it behind the scenes and nobody knows everything that you do. I would hate to have to give you an annual review because I don't know everything that you do, but you make it seamless. And to the registrar, Dave Fote, I knew you as chief of enforcement when you took over the role as registrar. I had some questions and you've answered every question beyond reproach, and couldn't be more proud to be part of this board. The last person that I want to give a shout out to is Uncle Jeff Miller. And I guess I know it's not necessarily my parting comments of the day, I'm sure, but in this forum, I had the opportunity to go on a sting with Jeff Miller. And while we were in the sting house, I affectionately referred to him as Uncle Jeff because I would come out when the unlicensed guys were there and, hey, Uncle Jeff. And anyway, it was just kind of part of the ruse. But by being out with Jeff Miller and the sting group, we were able to identify a hole in our legislation, a hole in our consumer protection, and our folks were not able to give notices to appear for workers' compensation violations. And it was Jeff Miller's impetus. We got that resolved. So to the board, remember the people on the ground. They're out there dealing with the consumer. They understand the issues. They're feeling those issues. We're here for consumer protection. Thank you all very, very, very much for all your support and just the opportunity to work with you all. Thank you. And I'm always here as a resource if I could ever help any one of you.
Great. So before I turn it, ask Shelley if there's any public comment. Just want to say, unfortunately, Nancy's not here. Was not here to attend today's meeting. I'm sure she's here vicariously, but I want to thank both of you for your commitment to the board and ensuring consumer protection. So with that, Shelley, is there any public comment?
Just as a reminder, if anybody would like to make a public comment, please click on your Q&A icon on your screen and submit a request, or you may also use the chat feature. We have a request from Richard Marcus. Richard, your line is open and you will have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and board members and staff, Richard Marcuson. And I would just like to echo the comments about your departing board members. I can't believe that time has gone by so quickly. They've both been excellent representatives of the public, but always open to listen to the contractor community. And my clients have certainly appreciated that. So thanks to them, best wishes, and good luck to you all for a great meeting today. Thank you.
And thank you. You've lowered your hand. Let's see. And I apologize. Did Member Galarza get a chance to comment?
I don't believe so.
He submitted a request through the chat. He did. Okay.
He did. Yeah. Is his hand
Okay.
still?
No, I didn't catch
right.
that in the chat earlier. It looks like that's all we have for this item.
Okay, well, great. Thank you, Shelley, and thank you for that comment. Next, we move on to agenda item D, the review and possible approval of March 25th, 2021 board meeting minutes, which begin on page 11.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any board member comments? Seeing none. Shelley, any public comment? Shelley?
My apologies. It would help if I unmuted myself. Not seeing any at this time for this item.
Great. Okay. So, Felice, roll call, please.
David Delatorre,
Aye.
Kevin Albanese,
Aye.
Frank Altamura,
Yes.
Augie Beltran,
Aye.
Ronnie Cobos,
Aye.
Miguel Galarza,
Aye.
Don Giordano,
Aye.
Susan Granzilla,
Aye.
Diana Love,
Aye.
Michael Mark,
Aye.
Jimmy Wayne,
Aye.
Johnny Simpson,
Aye.
Mary Tykert.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Felice. Next is the Registrar's report, which includes an update on the tentative board meeting schedule, update on the B2 residential remodeling classification, and the status update on the contract with the consultant to study which CSLB license classification should install battery energy storage systems. David, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Delatorre. Taking a little bit out of order, I'll end with the upcoming board meeting schedule. I'd like to begin by thanking the fine work performed by the CSLB's Testing and Examination Unit led by Carol Gagnon. I believe she's with us today. They've really prioritized the development of the B2 residential remodeling classification. What they've done is they've created an item bank by surveying industry, conducting workshops, performing item writing, and they performed all this in record time, got it completed within 7 months. And so I certainly appreciate their efforts. Now what we're doing is it's more of a consolidated approach by all of our board divisions, being public affairs, licensing, enforcement, and information technology, to coordinate the publicizing of this new classification. We've issued industry bulletins, conducted monthly applicant workshops, and through proactive enforcement, by performing sweeps and stings, we're educating those that we're identifying as being unlicensed and how they can qualify for this new license. We think it'll have a significant impact on combating the underground economy. Page 44 of your packets includes an industry bulletin that was released April 29th. And we've also developed a video that is being posted regularly on social media. Staff continue to look for opportunities to work with licensing schools and industry partners to encourage qualified persons to make application for this new classification. On the 21st of this month, we'll begin accepting applications for the B2 residential remodeling contractors. So we're real excited about that. The trade exam testing is scheduled to commence in August, and very optimistic that we can get the word out how this classification will help those that have the residential remodeling experience and that they've been performing multiple trades, but they lack the rough framing or the framing or rough carpentry experience that may have precluded them from obtaining a license in the past. There's a lot of individuals that didn't qualify over the prior years that now would qualify, and we hope that we get the information out to them to make application and obtain this license. Now, at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Kevin in our Public Affairs Office to show the B2 video. So, Kevin?
I have some exciting news to share with you regarding a new contractor license classification called the B2 Residential Remodeling Contractor. This classification was created to meet California's evolving consumer construction needs and to address the need for licensure in the remodeling industry. Consumers routinely seek contractors to remodel and update their homes without wanting structural changes to them. To get a general building license in California, applicants must have 4 years of experience in framing and carpentry. This requirement means that many applicants with residential remodeling experience don't have the opportunity to get a license. The new residential remodeling contractor classification was created to provide a pathway to licensure for qualified candidates with remodeling or handyman experience and to meet consumer demand. The new B2 license can accept kitchen and bathroom remodeling projects that are currently in high demand. Cabinet replacement, new paint and flooring, even replacement of electrical or plumbing fixtures can be performed with this license. However, there are some limitations. The residential remodeling contractor is not authorized to make structural changes to load-bearing portions of structures, and they cannot perform electrical, mechanical, or plumbing work behind the wall. We hope this new classification can help you become successful with your residential remodeling construction business. If you're currently working as a handy person, we encourage you to get a contractor's license so you can take on larger remodeling projects. If you'd like more information on the licensing process, please join us at our monthly Get Licensed to Build workshop. The workshop takes place every first Friday of the month from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. To register, just go to cslb.ca.gov. You can register up to a week before the workshop by using the banner at the top of the homepage. To learn more about the B2 residential remodeling classification, go to cslb.ca.gov.
Thank you. Before we discuss the battery energy storage system consultant contract, I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone may have, or if there's any comments.
I would just say, Dave, well done to staff and everybody for getting this over the finish line. It's been a long time coming. Great job.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to...
I have one question. This is Susan. I was just finishing looking at where it says an industry bulletin announced it. Can you elaborate on how we got the word out? You said it was on social media. It was used in sting operations, you know, to let them know that it was possible. But how else are we getting this word out?
Well, we are sending it out through our listserv for those that are looking, have expressed interest in receiving publications. I know we're doing it that way. I know that it's something that as I mentioned, our proactive enforcement team is distributing when they're out engaging unlicensed people in the field. But I'm going to ask Tanya Corcoran if she might want to comment on that. She took more of the lead role in distributing it. So Tanya, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, good morning. Yes, we are also looking at leveraging all of our current licensee database. We're working on that, and we would expect in the next 4 to 6 weeks to have another notice go out to all those licensees to provide this information. So we are looking at getting that out. And also we can look at doing like a media inquiry to see if anybody will pick it up in the media. So Joy Amard is our new public affairs manager. She just started in the middle of May. And so those are a few items that we are looking at promoting.
Thank you.
Yeah, David, quick question. You mentioned handyman. What's the threshold that would trigger this the license?
Well, the threshold is we have a lot of people doing the handy person type work, and they can only take jobs where the material and labor is valued at less than $500. And so those are very small projects. So you have a lot of these handyman, handy person type individuals that are out conducting work, performing work that's over $500 unlicensed. So this would provide a pathway to licensure for some of them if they can demonstrate that they have the multi-trade experience in the residential remodeling industry. Many of them do. They're coming in, they're doing multiple trade work, fixing up homes to sell for other reasons. And so we can consider that experience and when the application is submitted to us and determine if they have the 4 years. And if so, they can sit for the exam and hopefully obtain a contractor's license.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we'll move on to our battery energy storage system consultant contract. I know we have some new board members, and because of that, I'm just going to very quickly run through what the contract provides for. And a little background, December 2020, CSLB entered into a contract with UC Berkeley to consider the battery energy storage system risk, hazard, size, and complexity. They need to determine if there is an existing or prospective harm to public safety, and if so, what is the likelihood of the existing or prospective harm occurring, and or will that harm be fixed by enacting a regulation? So really taking a hard look here at the appropriate classification to install these battery energy storage systems are often used in conjunction with the solar system. And whether our existing solar contractor classification should be authorized in regulation to install an energy storage system, and if so, to what extent and in what way. They're also looking at the applicability of state and national standards and codes to these installations, and what, if any, economic impact will occur if there's a restriction on the CSLB solar contractor regulation. An analysis of applicable knowledge, skills, and training as relates to installation of BESS or battery energy storage systems is also a component of it. So they're going to be taking a look at which of these trades that are currently doing it have established training programs. Now, the consultant contract provided for completion by the end of June. We had thought at one time that it might be completed prior to this meeting. It did not happen. They need a little more time. They have assured me, though, that it will be completed by June 30th. So we're excited about that. It'll be up to the next chair to determine if there should be a standalone meeting to discuss their study. As some of you may recall, there's been a lot of interest in this in the past. We've had more than 100 people show up for board meetings to want to weigh in and share their thoughts regarding this. So we did not get it done today. The next board meeting is scheduled for September 21st and 22nd. That board meeting will likely be in Orange County. It'll commence, the idea is that it would commence on the afternoon of the 21st with a joint meeting that would include the Nevada board. So we'd have our joint Nevada's California board meeting the afternoon of the 21st. On the 22nd will be strategic planning. So the next chair will have to determine, do they want to hold the study for discussion until September, or would a standalone meeting, perhaps early July, be most appropriate, for the public to weigh in? I will tell you that once we have the report, we're going to publicize it at least 10 days before any scheduled meeting. And with that, are there any questions regarding the study or the September board meeting? If not, that would conclude my report. Thank you.
Okay, Registrar, thank you for that report. Now we move to the strategic planning. The strategic planning process overview is on page 51. As we have in the past, we will be utilizing the Department of Consumer Affairs Solid Training and Planning Solutions Office to provide planning services to develop the board's 2022 to 2025 strategic plan. Shelley Jones, our moderator for today's board meeting, is one of Solid managers and has agreed to be our strategic planning facilitator. Shelley is working closely with Dave and Tanya on the preliminary aspects of gathering information and developing the plan schedule. Over the next few months, Shelley will be conducting an environmental scan to identify strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, surveying staff, industry members, interested parties, and licensees. Specific to board members, Shelley will be conducting one-on-one interviews. At the September 2021 board meeting, board members and senior staff will develop strategic objectives. The strategic planning session will be approximately 6 hours and will be the primary focus of day one of our 2-day board meeting. At the December 2021 board meeting, the strategic plan will be presented for board review and adoption. Before I turn it over to Shelley to discuss the process in more detail, I wanted to notify my fellow board members that I have appointed a 2-person advisory committee to review licensing reciprocity. Miguel Galarza and myself will discuss their findings and recommendations as part of CSLB's strategic planning discussion in September. At this time, I will turn it over to Shelley Jones. Shelley, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, members. So you're aware, the next step in our strategic planning process from where we are now is that we will be conducting a scan and analysis of the environment in which your organization operates. And this is an integral part of the strategic planning process. The analysis will provide a better understanding of stakeholder, board member, and board staff thoughts about the board's performance within its identified goal areas, and allows us to take a look at the factors that can impact an organization's success. A summary of the results will be compiled into an environmental scan report, which will outline areas where stakeholders, board members, and board staff agree and disagree, while providing additional insight to assist the board in developing its goals and objectives for the upcoming strategic plan. I will be soon reaching out to each of you board members directly via email to schedule one-on-one interviews to occur in June, and these meetings will take approximately 45 minutes, give or take. Confidentiality is a critical component of the strategic planning process. Board members and stakeholder input will be compiled into the environmental scan report. However, names will not be disclosed. It is typical for a strategic plan to be 3 to 5 years long. CSLB's last strategic plan was 3 years and is currently being proposed for another 3 years again this cycle. Board members will discuss and determine the final length of the time based for this new plan, and that will be based upon objectives developed at your September board meeting. And as you can see displayed on the screen is the typical strategic planning process. So we do have our environmental scan step. After that will be the board meeting strategic planning session, Following that, we will create the finalized strategic plan that will be reviewed and then presented at a board meeting for approval. And then following that, we can go into action planning if your leadership so desires. And with that, I'll turn the floor back over to Registrar Fote.
Registrar, I believe the floor is yours.
Actually, I think we're going to turn this over to Tanya and Stacy Paul.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Shelley. Dave and I have been working with Shelley doing all the preliminary steps. So we are looking forward to engage in the strategic planning process with the board members in September. Great. So we can move on to the budget update.
Thank you, Tanya, and good morning, everybody. On page 59 begins the budget update. The first chart shows your fiscal year's budget and expenses through March. No big changes from last time as we continue to meet our goal of reducing expenses to have enough cash flow to continue operations until a fee increase is secured. To date, we've expended 69% of our budget, keeping us on track to spend about the same as last year at $66 million. The chart directly below shows our revenue through March. Overall, we're up from last year at 14.8%. This is mostly due to a steady increase in renewals, as well as licensees paying delinquent fees. If you flip the page, this is our fund condition, which projects out to budget year 21-22. If you look at the current year, which is in the middle column, our projected revenue for this year is $72 million. And directly below that is our projected expenses at $71 million. Keep in mind, this includes the $7.1 million in reduction expenses that you all approved. We are on track to end this fiscal year with $1.7 million in savings. And the last column reflects our projection for our budget year with $5 million in expense cost savings as we did this year. It is critical that we continue to save in an effort to maintain solvency until a new fee increase occurs. Without it, the fund would become deficient by next year. On the next page, this is our chart showing the board approved $7.1 million in expenses for this year. As you can see in the column on the right in the blue, this is the savings through March, and you can see that we've already met the goal and exceeded at $7.5 million. Now on to the next page is the $5 million that I just briefly talked about. This is up for board approval to continue with a similar reduction that we did for this year. We're proposing $5 million in cost saving measures, which includes holding 35 vacancies to maintain about $3.5 million in savings, and then another $1.5 million is attained through cutting costs with licensing and enforcement division. Which is in the same areas that we cut costs this year. Without these savings, the fund would be deficient before year end unless a fee increase is secured. At the conclusion of my update, this will be called for your vote by the board chair. Lastly, let me quickly touch on the statistic summary on the next 3 pages. It's very similar to what we discussed at the last board meeting. As we're seeing a decline still in new applications and the issuance of new licenses due to the delay in the backlog of the exams. But we are seeing a steady increase in renewals at 4% over 2 years. This concludes my budget update. Any questions?
Okay, seeing none. Thank you for that report, Stacy. So I will ask for a motion. There's a staff recommendation on the bottom of page 58 that the board approve the fiscal year 2021-2022 expenditure reduction plan outlining $5 million in savings. This recommendation projects that the fund would be solvent at the end of fiscal year 2021-2022 with $1.2 million in reserve. Do I have a motion?
Motion to follow staff recommendation, Beltran.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Did you get that, Felice? Okay. Is there any board comment? Seeing none.
Dave, this is Kevin Albanese. I'm going to support the motion. I just encourage the board as it continues to go forward to look for ways to find revenue for these positions. I know enforcement is structurally always challenged to have people and resources for our consumers, cutting test locations and whatnot. This is all what we need to do, but I would always encourage the board to remember these cuts and the importance that they serve for both the contracting community and the consumer.
Thank you, Kevin. Any other board comments? Okay, seeing none. Shelley, is there any public comment?
Not seeing any in the chat, not seeing any in the Q&A, and not seeing any hand raises.
Outstanding. Shelley, Felice, roll call, please.
David Delatorre,
Aye.
Kevin Albanese,
Aye.
Franco Tamara,
Yes.
Augie Beltran,
Aye.
Ronnie Cobos,
Aye.
Miguel Galarza,
Aye.
Don Giordano,
Aye.
Susan Granzella,
Aye.
Diana Love,
Aye.
Michael Mark,
Aye.
Jim Wayne,
Aye.
Johnny Simpson,
Aye.
Mary Tykert.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you, Felice. Next, please turn to page 75 of your board packet for the information technology update. Jason Perez, please update the board.
Thank you, Board Chair, and good morning, everybody. On page 75 begins the information technology update. First, I'd like to highlight CSLB is processing almost 40% of the renewals online. We are hopeful this average will continue to grow as we make modifications to the online renewal to allow for additional business entities with a single qualifier to renew online. We are anticipating this to be released this summer, which will provide 95% of our current licensees the opportunity to renew online. As you can see in the chart at the bottom of the page, we also continue to see monthly increases with our online citation payment application. I'd like to thank the Enforcement Division for the seamless transition of adding online transactions into their processes. As you can see on the website statistics chart on page 76, visits to CSLB website and license check features continues to grow year over year. We believe CSLB website visits will increase as the CSLB IT release additional online services and as the Public Affairs Office continues promotion through social media and outreach. With more online services, it is even more crucial for IT division to protect our data, and also to make recovery of this data available when needed. As you may recall, about 2 years ago, CSLB lost 2 critical web servers hosted at the Department of Technology. As a result, our CSLB IT infrastructure team made significant improvements to our online reliability and data protection, and we continue to make progress. And on page 77 is our latest architectural design. Kevin, could you please bring this up?